yeah! You're on the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. Today we're going to take this chunk of truck frame and we're going to make a wheel adapter and wheel spacer out of it. Should you try this at home? Not unless you're stupid or unless you want to take responsibility for your own safety. Stick around, watch the Hillbilly Voodoo, and see what we come up with. Now, in the last episode, we started work on our adapter / wheel spacer so that we can put those big giant hillbilly party balloons on this Sherp style ATV that we're building. Last episode, we found a spacer from a set of dualies that these 14 bolt axles that we modified had this little spacer between the wheels that sent, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, we built a hub out of a bunch of chopped up pieces of pipe, little slivers of pipe all welded together. You can kind of sort of see some of the welds here still because we couldn't find a piece of pipe that was the right diameter there. Remember guys, these are just a temporary thing so we can get the wheels on here so we can figure out all the rest of our stuff. If you want to build these and do whatever you're thinking of doing with them, then it's up to you. It's your safety. I wouldn't suggest driving at any high rate of speed or anything with these on there, but if you do, make sure you video it so that everybody else can laugh at you too. So the next step we need is a big flange, because those big huge tires have a big huge bolt pattern. From side to side is, well, from bolt hole to bolt hole is 8 inches. From side to side is 10 inches. So we need a piece of steel big enough that's 10 inches around. So we're probably going to go a little bit bigger than 10 inches just so we have some meat to work with. And that is where the truck frame comes in. I don't want to waste a good piece of steel on building some goofy adapter that's just going to be for mock-up purposes. So we're going to chop up that old truck frame and we're going to build a flange out of it. Now, is this a good idea? I don't know if it's a good idea, but it's an idea and that's what we're running with. So let's get to cutting that frame up and see if we can build ourselves a fairly flat piece of steel that's big enough. Now, the main problem that we got going on with this frame here is it's only 6.5 inches wide. So how the heck are we going to get a 10-inch or 11-inch piece out of a 6.5-inch wide piece? Well, we got lots of distance this way. So what we're going to do is cut 2 pieces. We're going to cut 2 pieces that are 11 inches long out of this frame, and we're going to laminate them together. Oh, laminate, that's a big word that sounds important. No, it's not a big word that sounds important. Laminate is just taking a bunch of useless junk that wouldn't otherwise be used for anything and sticking it together and making something that's not quite as useless out of it. So we'll mark this out, cut out 2 chunks at 11 inches, clean it up enough to weld it together, and make ourselves, ooh, wasp flying around, make ourselves a laminated piece of steel. Yeah, that's what we're going with. Okay, let's stop yapping, let's start cutting. Our old truck frame's chopped up in chunks here now, and we have stacked these chunks on top of each other in a cross pattern like that, tacked it together. Now these are the pieces that are on the side of the frame rail, so it's, you know, it's like the channel type thing. So this is the top and bottom, and we're going to stick those on there to fill up the spaces on the sides. And then we'll have ourselves a big square chunk of, well, however thick that is, probably 3/8 Yeah, maybe 3/8. We'll have a big square chunk of steel that we can cut our big round circle out of. I'm going to weld these pieces on here, just tack them in place. Try not to get too much heat in it so this doesn't all warp and turn into a taco chip. And then we'll mark out our circle. Now we got our laminated piece of steel built here. I haven't finished welded it or anything like that because we're going to draw a circle here, right? So no sense in welding all this stuff up if it's not going to be in our circle. So let's find a rough center here. So that'll give me roughly the center of our square here. Now we'll make a definite mark with the drill in the center. Now we know the circumference of our flange, our circle, needs to be 10 inches across for the finish diameter. So let's make this 10.5 inches, just to be safe. We'll have a little bit of material on either side to work with, and yeah, just sounds like a good idea. So let's go 5 1/4. We're gonna be able to get a 10 inch, 10.5 inch. Yep. So let's just kind of scribe that and mark it. These are not good calipers by any means, so if you're worried about me buggering the tips up, well, don't be a spaz, because I think I paid $2 for these calipers at a garage sale. See, there is some method to some of my madness. I did leave the rust on here so that I could scribe the line so I could actually see it. I'm gonna go back and probably color it in with a pen or something, but now we got our circle. Now I'm just going to take the angle grinder like I always do and chop her all down till it's roughed out into a circle, and then from there I think we'll have to stick it on the lathe, bore it out for our, yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll bore it out for our hub. Now maybe we'll mark out our bolt holes. Anyways, let's cut this out and then we'll decide where we're gonna go from there. Now that I got our center roughed out here, or our circle roughed out here with the angle grinder, I'm going to weld a center in here so that I can stick it in the lathe. So let's take this center and it's 2 inches, so we need a circle. Scribed in here, that's 2 inches. Now we can line that up in that circle, tack it in there, and we'll be able to stick it in the lathe and true up the sides and mark out the circle for where our wheel studs will go. Yeah, all that stuff. Well, we'll mount this thing up here in the lathe and hopefully we can then turn it perfectly round. All of my tools have been Kind of being serious jerks today. I'm just not being tools. Well, I guess they are being tools. They're just not working the way they should be, so. Or maybe it's just me that's not working the way they want me to. Anyways, hopefully we can get this lathe to work. Well, we managed to get it to spin up, so let's see if we can actually do some cutting before it quits. So now that we got this all rounded out, we're going to measure for where the bolt holes are going to go through. Now we know the spread between the center of the bolt holes is 8 inches. So if we mark 4 inches out from the center, and then we use the bit on our lathe and put it on that point there, then we can scribe a circle all the way around, and then when we drill through, we know that we're exactly 8 inches across because we're 4 inches from the center, right? So that'll give us 8 across. So let's mark that with our lathe here. Get our bit lined up right on that mark. I think we're gonna have to change the bit around here a little bit, put in a different one. I put a more pokey bit in there, so we'll fire this up here, spin a circle on it, and that'll give us where we need to drill our holes at. We got our circle marked around there now. Now we'll take it off and scribe 8 lines across, evenly spaced, so that we have our 8 bolts evenly spaced. Well, unfortunately, I erased the footage of me scribing the lines and drilling the holes, so this is what we came up with. Got our 8 holes in there. They're all evenly spaced apart on the circumference of our bolt pattern. Now I have taken this, put it on the wheel, put bolts through it, made sure everything is all lined up and it's all right. So we know that's going to work. Now we need to put this back into the lathe and bore a hole in here so that this part of the flange, adapter, wheel spacer, whatever the heck this thing is, will fit in there. So we have 130 millimeters, so 65. So we will scribe a rough mark on here, 65. So when we bore that out, that should be that size. Yeah, that's right. Now I'm only going to bore through the first layer of the, because you know we have two pieces laminated here. I'm only going to bore through the first one. Then we're going to stick this piece in there like that, weld it in, and we're going to cut our little stub off of the back there, and then bore back through from this back side here, and then weld it on the inside also. So that'll make it extra strong. Yeah, I think that's going to work. I can't see why it wouldn't. And if it doesn't, well then I guess we'll just have to start over again. Now that I've machined right through that first plate and into the second plate, now I can take this piece, let's do this so you guys can somewhat see, and put that in there like that. It's a nice tight fit. And I'm gonna put a piece of steel here, and I'm gonna press it in with tailstock and tack it in place. I probably won't be able to show you any of that because my camera skills kind of suck, but I'll bring you back after I get it tacked in and show you what it looks like. Now that that's tacked in there, I can pull this out, finish weld all the way around, cut that little stub off the back that we have it currently chucked into the lathe on, and then flip it around, mount it on this side, and bore through to get the inside diameter. After I weld it all up fully, then I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. Well, now that we got this all finished welded together with our nice booger bubblegum welds there, might not be pretty, but they're strong. So we're gonna chop this piece off the back here, just grind the welds off, and then we will mount it in the chuck on this side and bore out the hole on this side. Let's grind that off of there and go stick her in the lathe. Now this is all bored out here now to the diameter that slides over our hub. I've cut a groove in here. Now I'm gonna weld this outside flange to our little hub pipe thing here, all the way around in that groove. And then I'll put it back in the lathe and turn it down so that it's nice and flush and slips over the hub nice and easy, and this will all be one big solid piece. I really don't know why I'm going to such an extent as to do all this stuff when this is just a temporary thing, but sometimes around here the temporary solution to a problem becomes the permanent solution to the problem, but I guess it all depends on how it works. So yeah, I'll pull this out of the lathe here, weld her all up, stuff her back in here and turn it down, and then we're gonna see if this flange adapter, spacer, whatever this thing is gonna actually work or not. Well, there you go, guys. We got her all welded up on the inside, bored down to the size we need to slide over the hub. That right there is one wheel adapter, wheel spacer, whatever you want to call it, made out of a truck frame. Yeah, I bet you thought you'd never see somebody build something like that, did you? Well, around here we use what we got to make what we want. What we had was a truck frame. What we got now is, well, it's a wheel adapter. Now, through the magic of TV, YouTube, whatever you want to call it, editing, kapow, we have two. Yeah, those two actually took me 3 days to make, if anybody's really curious. So now the major issue that we have is, how are we going to get those big, giant, hillbilly, well, yeah, hillbilly party balloons on this frame by ourselves without, well, pretty much killing ourselves doing it. So I'm going to sit here and think for a few minutes of how I'm going to move this frame around up and down so that I can get that wheel on there. Well, first I'll wheel one of the wheels in here. We'll bolt one of these adapters to it and see what type of hillbilly voodoo we're going to have to do to make this frame go up and down off of this sawhorse to the right height that we need to slide the wheel on. So yeah, let's think about this for a minute. While I'm thinking about this, maybe you guys could go and hit that thumbs up button for me, and if you're liking this type of content and you want to see what other kind of weird, crazy things we build out of things that shouldn't be built out of, well, maybe you should hit the subscribe button, the little notification bell thing, so that you can say, hey, well, that little ringing noise in my ears, well, that's the Hillbilly Voodoo channel and we should go watch that. Yep, give me a minute here and I'll figure out how we're going to get these wheels on. I mean, holy crap, guys, these things are huge. It's a good thing I don't have to fart, or I would probably blow my spine right out of my butt. Yeah. Okay, let's figure something out here. Is that going to stay by itself? Probably just long enough for it to fall over on top of me and break my legs. Now I've taken our frame off of the sawhorses here, put it down on a stump, block of wood. And I got our tire slid over. I'm hoping that the axle is at the right height here, or fairly close. So I'm going to take our pry bar, catch my breath, and hopefully a little bit of wiggling and a whole lot of prying. We will have our big, huge hillbilly party balloon on there enough that we can put some bolts in. Can you believe I used to do tires for a living? When I sit down at the end of the day, I think I've deserved a break. Well, she's all bolted on there now. Man, that thing is big. It's going to be one hell of a machine, guys. Now, the moment of reckoning here. Are we within 4 feet of the center of our machine so that we're not over 8 feet total wide? So my math is mathing right? Yes. We were at 44, about 45 inches to the outside of the tire. So that means total width, we're under 8 feet total wide. So all my mathing and figuring out on my wheel space are obviously figured properly. So I think I'm going to leave this video here on a good note. I'll drag that other tire down here and figure out how I'm going to mount that one on the back. Pretty good progress this week. Got a lot more done than I figured I was going to. So until next time, guys, use what you got to make what you want, and I'll see you later.